Welcome to another episode of the It's the Pictures podcast. This is episode 163, and I am your host, Max Colville. Joining me, as always, is my co host and good friend, John Gilpatrick. Hi, John.
We're friends. I don't know if we're good friends.
What? After all these years, we're not good
We're
friends.
good friends. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, we're into the February month. It was pretty dire at the movies in January, like it normally is.
Yeah.
I think some people have found some things to enjoy, whether or not they found some joy in Lisa Frankenstein. I guess that's the new movie that's coming out in the next few days here by first time director Zelda Williams. I know that Sundance came and went, and it seemed that all the good films were exclusive for people who were on the ground. And everybody who could stream stuff at home, maybe found some diamonds in the rough. But it really felt like if you were covering Sundance from home, you were missing out on the buzziest films that were available to watch. Uh, but that's not the only news that has been going on, John. This morning, in a surprise announcement, the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences announced that they'll be adding a category to the Oscars for 2026. They'll be awarding casting, and from early opinions, like I saw online, some news was like some people thought like, oh, this is a good idea. Casting directors rarely get noticed, and it's such a big part of film production. But then other people were like, people already have trouble picking like casts and like ensembles, and like when they pick this category, isn't that what they're going to look at is like the best ensemble? And they have received like blowback over the years for like having too many categories at the Oscars, and now they're going to add another one that presumably will be aired during the show. So uh a little
Yeah.
conflict there. What do you think, John?
Um, I don't know. I don't really like. I think that I'm pro like more. It's weird. It's like I'm pro more categories and more people getting recognized, but I also feel like the show doesn't really need more categories that people don't care about. I do sort of like, I know this is probably a controversial take, but like they were probably onto something when they were gonna not have some categories on the broadcast like the Grammys do, you know? Like maybe some of those should have been off, but like that would involve like maybe blowing it up to like 50 categories and having like all kinds of things that you could give out off the show. So it's not like you're like singling out like production designers and makeup artists or whatever. So like I just want them to like figure out a way to like get people to watch it, and I'm not sure a casting award is going to do that.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Grammys because that is something that just aired as well, and apparently they had a big bump in ratings, like 34% over last year's watching. And what they do is they have a few categories. I think I
There's
didn't
like
actually.
9 awards given out the whole like night.
Yeah, most of them were either done during the day or the day before. But
Yeah.
you see, the Grammys have this benefit that they can entertain people for a 3-hour
Yes.
broadcast.
Right.
Even the Tonys can entertain people,
That too.
but Oscars not so much.
It's tougher, but I feel like they got to figure something out. Um I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, if you ask people like what do they honestly care about in the like Oscars awards, they want to see the big four acting awards, and
Yeah.
they want to see who wins Best Picture.
Best picture, like director if you're being generous.
Yeah, I mean everything else they'll probably like, That's especially categories like even you and I have been covering movies for a lot of years, and like unless we go way out of our way to like go to the movie theater and see these like short packages, we don't see the shorts,
No.
and like they're they're being included in the show, and I'm happy that they are included and those people get recognition, but um, the audience for who actually saw those films was even more
Nobody. Yeah.
infinitesimal
Right, exactly.
the,
Sorry, but
the,
it's true.
the people who even saw the Best Picture nominees.
Yeah.
I mean, at least this year, I don't think we've talked since like even the Oscar
No, we
nominees,
haven't, I
but,
guess, since the nominations came out.
like this year they don't have a problem with like movies at the top that people haven't seen, right? Because it's just like you have the Barbenheimer effect, and you have Oppenheimer and Barbie up there, and like if you have some inkling of enjoying movies, you know that those two movies came out
Yeah.
and probably saw one or both of them. Did you have any opinions about the Oscars? I really didn't have too many because it was like pretty expected. I think I wasn't too like up in arms about the Greta Gerwig Margot Robbie thing because I kind of felt that that's how it was going to go.
Yeah. I was surprised, but I also am not, like, paying as close attention as you are probably. You know, I it's tough, like, I understand the different sides of the sort of debate. Not really super inclined to weigh in. I talked to my wife about it because she's a big Barbie fan, and she was upset. And I thought she made a pretty good point, which was just sort of like, movies like this are never taken seriously, and it's kind of a inclination that, like, if you want to, like, have a movie that's like for women or by women, that, like, it has to be like tackling a serious subject matter, and it can't just be fun. Like, that's not enough. And I think that there's probably some validity to that. um that's really like the only kind of like, I guess, chiming in I probably care to do on that specific topic. Otherwise, like, yeah, I don't know. I like Oppenheimer got a zillion, like, what else? I guess I was like mildly surprised. I thought like the holdovers would do slightly better. Like, no, Alexander Payne was like mildly surprising. Um yeah, I don't know. It was fine.
Yeah, they gave John Williams his honorary nomination that they give him every time.
Yeah, right, right. I had, my favorite movie was Oppenheimer, as we talked about last time, and my second was Poor Things, and they got a zillion noms apiece. American Fiction got a bunch, Holdovers got a bunch. I liked both those movies. Like, I'm not too upset.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't like the 10 that they nominated there. I kind of figured that's what it was going to be, and it's a fine year for movies. I thought like all 10 movies were things that I'd recommend to people. Like maybe if I like had to put stuff near the bottom, like maybe I didn't love American Fiction or Maestro as much as the other stuff, but
Yeah.
they're definitely entertaining and well worth your time to watch. I just if there has to be a top and a bottom, that's how I'd kind of envision it myself. But yeah, pretty good year for movies. I wonder how they'll spread out the awards during the ceremony, and above all, I hope it will be entertaining. I know you and I have always enjoyed watching the program, and we hope that like they figure it out and, and make it entertaining for us to watch it for 3.5 hours or whatever things they do.
Yeah.
But we'll see. You know what, John? I was thinking this about this last year, and they did some of this even during the Grammys. Is like they hyped up like, oh, you could see like a trailer for like another film, or like what, of course the Grammys what it did is like I guess not only did Casey Musgraves drop like, oh, I'm releasing a new album, but of course
Yeah.
Taylor Swift did.
Yeah.
So it was, oh well, I watched the show, but also there's something to be excited about. Like they need to have like some kind of trailer that they're saving for like the the Oscars, and it can't be like Little Mermaid because that's what it was
Yeah.
last year or the year before. They were like, "Oh, stay tuned for the first look at the Little Mermaid trailer." Um,
Oh God.
like I need them to do like something worthwhile and not like, but like they're gonna spend like whoever cares is gonna spend big money at the Super Bowl. And one of the big ones that they're talking about, which is this is a good segue, John, to the Super Bowl preview, is that they're talking about some of the biggest movies of the year would likely get boosts at the Super Bowl, whether that be Deadpool 3 or Universal's first part of their Wicked musical adaptation. Um, just some bigger films that are trying to stake claim to the eyes and audiences. And now that they're gonna have the Taylor Swift audience, I think like maybe I think Wicked might be a good play to show off at least a teaser of that one.
I think Wicked and Moana 2 are going to be releasing on the same day.
Oh yeah, that's what they have scheduled.
I saw that today. Yeah,
Oh.
trying to do a Barbenheimer thing, perhaps. Is that going to
um,
be
I,
the new thing? Is
I
like
think that's
actually the secret to making $1 zillion is not to create space, but to pile on top of each other.
yes. I think Wicked and Moana 2 share an audience though. I
Yeah, they
don't think
definitely do.
I don't think that's a very different audience.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting theory that like there's going to be different types of trailers this year, more variety amongst the trailers because Taylor Swift is going to bring in a lot more viewers than usual to the Super Bowl, which is already the most watched program in television. So I don't know how many more people are going to watch it, but it will be interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know. I agree that like maybe that's a good spot to drop some Wicked footage. Um, well, we'll talk more, I guess, later on about like some of our most anticipated and see if any of them are going to have any.
What do you think about like I saw a teaser poster for the Beetlejuice sequel the other day,
Uh huh.
and it's great. They're calling it Beetlejuice.
Oh,
I
that's a
think
good. That's
yeah,
good. Yeah.
I'm like that's a great thing to call Beetlejuice too. I'm like yeah, drop some footage for that maybe if you think it's going to be like worthy of that much uh promotion.
Yeah. 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 It's not bad. Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna head into our most anticipated of 2024 shortly. John mentioned Moana 2, and Disney just announced that this is a thing during their earnings call. They also dropped the bomb that they're going to have the Taylor Swift concert film on Disney Plus starting in March. So that's pretty exciting for people who probably had to rent it 1,000 times to watch it again and again and again. Now they could just get a Disney Plus subscription and watch it. But
And it's
Moana,
Taylor's version.
yeah, because it has Cardigan in it and
Well, and it has like all of the Los Angeles
acoustic
acoustic
set.
songs.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Anyways, Moana 2 is a funny project, John, because like it kind of came out of nowhere. People thought like, oh, they were working on this, and the fact is that they weren't really. They were in the process of developing a
Right.
Moana TV show
I saw that. Yeah,
for
it's
Disney
wild.
Plus, and I guess for all intents and purposes, this is probably like constructing a movie out of that project.
Yeah,
It's not going to be like
it's really not ideal.
right, and like apparently, Lin Manuel Miranda is not returning for
Yeah, I
music.
saw that also.
They had somebody, some other staff take it over, and I don't know. Like I'm a huge Moana fan. I think it's a great Disney movie
Yeah, I agree.
from beginning to end. The music does not really misfired track on there. It might be like I maybe it's Lin Manuel Miranda's best movie soundtrack. I know like people who love Encanto are probably screaming at me, but I think like there's no misses here. I think the Moana soundtrack is just really fantastic, and it's just a really great, empowering story for young women. There's not a love interest or any kind of romance. It's just like she is trying to save her people, and she's strong and overcoming great odds. And yeah, I've seen a lot of Moana in the past year or so with my family. But it's a movie I don't get tired of, as opposed to like some of the other ones that get constant play in my house.
That's cool.
So yeah, Moana too. I'm tentatively looking forward to it. It'll be a nice movie to take my child to.
Hmm.
That's for sure. But
Hmm.
I hope it's better than Wish. John, I watched Wish, and it's so bad.
Yeah.
I was like, they should be ashamed of themselves for putting this out.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's just basically 90 minutes of Disney patting itself
Yeah.
on the back.
I saw the spoilers at the of the ending, and I'm just like, holy cow.
Yeah, and they have like a character that's 100 years old, and I was asking Shannon, I was like, why do you think they did it? And she's like, oh, because it's Disney's 100th anniversary, so he had to be 100. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like this is ridiculous.
Really stupid.
But yeah, hopefully Moana 2 is at least a little bit better. Otherwise, Disney's theatrical movies just they haven't been up to par for a little while. But yeah, moving on, we're going to go into our most anticipated of the year. This is usually one of my favorite things that we do over the year, and I like looking back because it's really funny to
I
see
know.
what we thought we were excited to see, and then just like how it turned out, or if we even bothered to see it.
Yeah. Or if it even came out.
Right, in some cases. Um, Okay, so I've included uh the stuff on the bottom here on the outline.
Okay.
So John, just don't look at it.
Okay.
I'm gonna look over here.
You're gonna surprise
So
me.
for action, I had Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Okay.
And yes, I was still excited about the film. The film turned out fine. It's not great.
Yeah.
It's could have been better for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
John had Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One, no longer called Part One now. Uh, and his alternative was Napoleon.
Oh, okay. Well, both those movies came out. I saw one of them.
Yeah, no, I'm
Um,
guessing you didn't see Napoleon yet.
I didn't. I'm still going to, but I haven't yet. And I thought Mission Impossible, it was a little underwhelming, as I think everybody seemed to agree. But I still thought it was good.
They did Rebecca Ferguson dirty in that movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with all that, I think, but I the train sequence was just so much fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. And like when they're hanging from the train, it
And
certainly
they're
reminds.
running through the compartments. Like that was just like a phenomenal scene, I thought.
Yeah.
So, almost makes up for, some of the lazier elements, I guess.
All right. For science fiction, I had Dune Part Two, still not
Ah,
out
of
yet,
course.
and I had Spider Verse,
Okay.
which came out and was great.
Yep,
I really enjoyed that. That's an Oscar nominee.
he is.
John had Civil War, which is not out yet,
Oh, okay.
and his alternative was Dune Part Two, not out yet. So,
Okay. All right.
so you were ahead of the curve.
Indeed.
For comedy, we both had Barbie.
Okay. Makes
Um,
sense.
for your alts, you had Asteroid City.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
No.
Beth and Don,
I don't even know what that is.
and Magic Mike's Last Dance.
Did not see that.
I heard that's coming to Netflix soon
Oh,
or is
okay.
on
I'll probably
there.
watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was hearing like, oh, there was an article that was like, oh, now you can watch the one good scene in the movie.
Oh
So,
no. Okay.
so yeah, that's on there. Prestige. Um, I had Maestro, The Killer, and Oppenheimer. I have
Okay.
not seen The Killer yet. And John had Ferrari with an alternate of Oppenheimer in a movie called Blitz. I think it hasn't
Uh,
come out yet.
nope.
So that was on there. For wild card, I had Poor Things, which
Uh,
came out and we both
mm,
wildly enjoyed.
was a wild card.
And then I saw the TV Glow, which had its premiere at Sundance. It had pretty good reviews from what I was reading, so still looking forward to seeing that. John had Megalopolis, which is the Francis Ford Coppola movie that seems likely to come out this year. He's been teasing posters and what have you.
Yep.
The other wild cards you had were The Way of the Wind,
Okay.
which I don't know what that is,
Terrence Malick.
and Night Bitch. I don't know what that is.
It's a Mary Al Heller movie.
Okay. Um, did you ever end up seeing the one where what's the the one with what's her name from Seinfeld?
Julia Louis-Dreyfus. No, I never saw that.
Okay, I think it's called "You Hurt My Feelings" or
Yeah,
something. I
yeah.
remember you being like excited to see
I
that,
was
but
excited to see that.
I heard it was okay for what it's worth.
I like it's a Nicole Holofcener Center movie. I like her movies.
I just haven't gotten around to it. Huh?
No,
And then for our most anticipated, I did Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning,
that was
and
your
you,
number one most anticipated?
yeah, because I didn't want to do your most anticipated, which was
Oh,
Killers of the Flower
for
Moon.
like the third year running.
Right. I figured like I needed to do like something else. I didn't want to like be boring.
That's fair.
So are you gonna tell me this time that you've seen Killers of the Flower Moon
I
yet?
am not going to tell you that, unfortunately, but I will.
Uh,
I will before too long here.
okay.
We had intervening events, of course.
Yes, yes. Okay, so how do you think we did, John? I mean, like,
Interesting.
did you see Ferrari?
No,
Oh.
I didn't see a lot of things. Uh, I had a lot that didn't come out, which is kind of funny.
True.
Uh, kind of funny. And I don't know. I mean, ultimately, like we hit, or including my alternates, like Oppenheimer hit. You hit on Poor Things. Mission Impossible was fun. Um, Barbie we both hit on, I think. So, there's some good mentions in here.
Yeah, with some movies that we had the right to be anticipating, right? Is that is,
I
that is that the
think
way to look at
so.
it?
I think it's totally valid.
Yeah. Um, okay. So now this year's list. Like like you could hear me mention, John and I just don't do a top 10 list or a top 5 most anticipated films. We like to break it down into categories. This gives us a little variation with the movies, even though it's increasingly difficult to find a comedy movie in the year 2024. It seems like they're just
It's
not making
crazy.
them.
Yeah, you
And
really
like,
have to just stretch the definition a little bit.
right. I mean, like some people were John, I saw this like last year or the year before where people were like, well, you could almost say like Marvel movies are comedies in a way because like
Oh God,
they have a lot of laughs in them.
do
But
they?
like I don't know. John, I tell you 2023 and now we can look back. I did not see Ant-Man and I did not see the Marvels. So I
Yeah,
used to like religiously see these things and I have not seen either of those movies. The only one I saw was Guardians 3, and I don't know that they better be working pretty hard over there at Disney to rejuvenate this thing because
yeah.
I am not into it.
Well, they'll have a big one at least this year, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm big for them. I mean, you and I are kind of mezza on Deadpool, right? Like,
Oh, I hate Deadpool,
all
but
right,
I think it'll be a hit. Yeah, I
yeah,
loathe those movies.
yeah. Um, looks like Ryan Reynolds is in big business, huh? He's all over the place, and he
I know.
he has that big If movie coming out, right?
Yeah, from the imagination of John Krasinski.
Yeah. I don't know if that will make our list. It might. It might make a
We'll
comedy.
see. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. Okay, so what are we starting with?
Okay, we're starting to action,
Okay.
and I'll go first.
Okay.
And then we'll switch off. So for my most anticipated action film, I selected Gladiator 2.
Okay.
And this is Ridley Scott is returning to the movie he won Best Picture for. This time he's not returning with Russell Crowe, but um, I think the cast here is pretty exciting, regardless of not having Russell Crowe in it. Um, I I don't know. I don't know why I think like it's gonna be decent, John, because like I'm kind of iffy on even if I wanted to watch Napoleon. I didn't watch his other one with Matt Damon in it. What was it? Matt Damon, Ben Affleck that he did a few years ago with
Oh, The Last Duel.
yeah, I didn't watch that. So I don't know why I'm excited for Gladiator 2. Maybe he'll have a return to form for me,
Sure.
and I'll enjoy it quite a bit. But that's what I was trying to find time for. I was trying to remember Paul Mescal's name,
Yep.
and he is the lead here in Gladiator 2, and I find him really interesting in all the movies he's been in recently. I saw like
After Sun.
I saw that All of Us Strangers movie that
Oh yeah.
got blanked on, at the Oscars.
Yeah.
I thought he was great in that
Nice.
as well. So yeah, I'd like to see what he's in and think he can figure this one out. And the new one and the other action was actually like one that I didn't even know was a thing until like the trailer popped up, John. And that's like the best kind of anticipation.
Yeah.
And apparently Dev Patel directed a movie that he is starring in called Monkey Man, and it looks like this like action thriller that he's going around like as a hitman or something or another. And I don't know, it just like looks right up my alley. It's kind of funny that like I think that's the kind of movie people wanted when The Green Knight was announced. Like,
Yeah.
let's see Dev Patel kick ass, and
Yep.
like it ended up being like this slow kind of methodical thing, and really psychological in a way, and kind of slow. So maybe this is what they were looking for, is more action. And apparently the film is going to get its premiere at South by Southwest, so we'll know pretty soon how audiences take to it. But for a pretty I had a hard time picking out a list, John. It seemed like 2024 was pretty barren. So I was glad to see this added to the lineup for things that I can anticipate.
Yeah, I generally agree with you. But that does sound interesting. Is that produced or somehow being shepherded by Jordan Poole?
Yeah,
Okay, I thought I saw
Jordan
that.
Peele. Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Definitely not Jordan Poole.
yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, clearly my head is just not totally on straight, but yeah, okay. That I saw that too. That I thought that sounded interesting for sure.
All right, so you got some action movies for us, John?
Yeah, I mean, there was like a few that I sort of feel like qualify that like I wasn't really sure exactly. Yeah, we always have this issue because sci-fi and action are two of our categories, and there's a lot of crossover. But and it's going to be with my choice here. This was a movie I wasn't like super excited for until I actually saw the trailer, which doesn't happen that often, but it did in this case. It's A Quiet Place Day One. And I saw the first Quiet Place, loved it. The second one I actually really liked too. Sort of surprisingly so. That was like the first movie, I think, the first big movie out of COVID.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the first one I went to.
yeah, I didn't go to see it in theater, but I watched it at home and really liked it a lot. Not as quite as good as the first, but still really interesting. And I thought, okay, like really, like we're milking this concept for every last drop. But I really just thought the trailer looked exciting, and it's definitely more action oriented. It's a prequel, which I'm not a fan of, but I think in this case, like it looks like it's maybe doing something a little bit different. Big time like kind of Cloverfield vibes from the trailer, which shows Lupita Nyong'o as sort of the main character in New York City when these aliens like start attacking everybody. And I guess we're going to get to the place where everybody realizes that being quiet is the only thing that's going to keep them at bay. So she's the star along with Jaimon Hansu. It's directed by Michael Sarnowski, who was the writer director of Pig from a few years ago, which is a pretty fun movie. So I'm interested in what he's going to add to this. No Emily Blunt or John Krasinski in sight, it seems, but I think maybe like movie set in the same universe as those other films, but is kind of otherwise totally detached. Feels like the right tact to take here, and yeah, it just looks like a pretty good time.
Yeah, originally I'd read in the wiki and I thought that this was the case that like Jeff Nichols was attached, the director of Mud,
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
but like I guess he left due to creative differences, and
Right.
I was like, oh, that's too bad. I would have liked to see what he could have done with it, but yeah,
Same.
I think the director of Pig, he's an exciting talent. I really enjoyed that movie too. So,
Yeah.
was that the one you found for action? I mean, that trailer just came out, so if people
Yeah.
want to check that out, it's pretty cool.
It just came out. I would recommend it for sure. That's my number one action. There are other action movies I'll probably highlight as we go, but that's the one that most cleanly fit this category. No other.
All right, why don't you lead with science fiction, John? Then.
Okay, so for this one, again, I don't totally know. Like, it's definitely a science fiction movie. Maybe it's going to be action oriented. Also, I'm not entirely sure. But I'm going to put Mickey Seven in here for sci-fi. This is going to be the new Bong Joon Ho movie, his follow up to Parasite. Hard to imagine that it took this long. And really, I mean, it kind of is, right? But it is going to be, a bigger budget movie. He's got some big actors appearing in it. It has a lot of like sci-fi kind of touches, at least it sounds like it in the description, which talks about like humans who are sent to colonize an ice world. Um, and it's going to get released by Warner Brothers. Robert Pattinson is, I guess, the lead. Also, Stephen Yun and Tony Collette and Mark Ruffalo. So, like I said, a pretty big cast. I think, it just sounds like an interesting concept. Obviously, he kind of gets the benefit of the doubt after his last and his track record, just more generally. And it'll be fun whenever it arrives. I'm not totally sure when it's going to get released. I know it was supposed to be an early year release, but I suppose it's possible it gets bumped to more of an award season thing if it feels like that's the if it's got that kind of sensibility to it.
Yeah, from what I understand, John, and I had this as my second wild card.
Okay.
Before I suggested this, it was tentatively supposed to come out in like mid March, but
Yeah.
then because of the pandemic, not the pandemic, the dual strikes,
The pandemic.
Warner
Yeah.
Brother,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
yeah, the dual strikes, another thing, right? Warner Brothers moved
Yeah.
Dune, and so like they had a new Godzilla versus Kong
Oh,
movie,
right.
and so they're like, yeah, let's kind of remove Mickey 17 from the list, and they kind of TBD uh or TBA to be announced the new date for it. But yeah, I mean, if it's
Yeah.
good, yeah, you
Yeah.
can imagine it's good. They'll wait till the fall for it and
I
see what
had Mickey
happens.
7 written down, but you're right. It
That's the
is
name of
called
the
Mickey
book.
17. So what is?
Mickey Seven's the name of the book.
Oh, but they
That's based
changed it
on.
to Mickey 17.
Yes, I read the book.
Oh, cool. Is it good?
Yeah, so presumably Robert Pattinson's playing a character that, like, in order to get off the planet he's on, he has to agree to be like a disposable kind of human, which means they've like uploaded like
Yeah.
all his mind and stuff to a database, and like they just like make new clones of him when he dies. But like the catch
Yeah.
is like each new clone felt how the previous one died. So it's like really excruciating and demoralizing. So yeah, the book was pretty neat. I think they even wrote a sequel for it. So if you want to check that out. But I'm interested to
Okay.
see how director Bong Joon Ho kind of runs with this. I don't know if it's going to be like an exact replica or if he just like the idea and he's going to tweak it to his own needs.
Yeah.
All right, for me, I honestly I had two, and I couldn't say that Dune Part Two was not my most anticipated science fiction because it was. But we've talked about that a lot, and it's coming out soon. So I would like to talk more about Furiosa, which is my other anticipated science fiction film.
Okay.
I wasn't wild about like the trailer for this.
Yeah.
It looks like
Same. We talked about it, I think, right?
yeah, it's hard to redo Mad Max Fury Road or like try to catch lightning in a bottle again. 'Cause, geez, that movie is good. But I have hope, and I like George Miller as a director overall. I mean, like 3,000 years longing certainly left me longing for a better movie. But
I thought that movie ruled.
you really liked it, so then maybe
Oh,
you're
it's
on board,
amazing, yeah.
anyways.
I'm less inclined for Furiosa, but, you know, you can talk about it.
Yeah. You have Anya Taylor Joy in the lead here instead of Charlize Theron. Since it's a prequel, I guess Chris Hemsworth plays like uh, a villain in this. They're pretty much the two figureheads that are spearheading the the acting on this one. Similar to like Fury Road, right? It didn't have like a ton of big names out the gate. You had the brides who might not have been as well known as they are now, and you had Nicholas Hoult and Charlize Theron and um, Tom Hardy. Um, so yeah, I guess that works for him. I just hope there's still a lot of practical effects in this, and that they didn't just like cheap out and say, "Oh yeah, let's make it more CG because like it's easier that way." Um, yeah, I don't know, John. I'm hopeful. And I imagine like they'll probably like keep it like the same idea, like they'll have a big splashy premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, like they did for Fury Road, and
Yeah,
that was
that
a
makes
rollout
sense.
that worked for them. So
That would definitely make sense to me. So I think
okay.
it's back to you again for your comedy if you could find one.
All right. So one of them, the since I pretty much picked two, John, just or like an alt and stuff like that.
Okay.
So for every category, the first one, like I thought it looked cute with Lisa Frankenstein coming out. I figured that was like a black comedy. I don't
Mhm.
know if it's enough to like get me to the theater to go see it, but I'm still
Yeah.
kind of interested in seeing it.
Okay.
I like Catherine Newton. I liked her in Freaky. I think she's a pretty entertaining young actress, and a script by Diablo Cody sounds intriguing. So eventually I'll see it. The other comedy that I picked was Inside Out 2,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and this
that's that's
might have been a stretch. I don't know, but
I don't think
certainly
so.
certainly the first Inside Out had a lot of comedy in it, a lot of heart as well.
Yeah.
As much as like it's sad that Disney and Pixar are just constantly making sequels now because they're afraid of like trying to bring new brands because their new movies have just kind of like shit the bed. Um, Inside Out was one of my upper tier Pixar movies. I think like years ago, John and I did our Pixar list. We haven't updated it in some time, but we picked some of our favorite Pixar's, and I have to imagine that Inside Out was really up there for me. And um, even revisiting it these days, I find a lot of rewarding attributes to it. Um, I don't know really how they're going to build off of that or reinvent it. The recent trailer is more of like a teaser than an actual trailer for the movie, so there's not too much to go on yet. Um, but I hope it's good. I mean, like, let's say most of these sequels have like diminishing returns, right, John? If we look at like Finding Dory or the Monsters Inc. sequel,
Yeah.
or
Toy Story
really,
4.
yeah, right. I mean, Toy Story 2 and 3 seem like anomalies now because those
I
were
think
fantastic sequels.
sequels of the 2010s.
Yeah. Just haven't been great. And speaking about Disney and Pixar movies, John, I saw like the most wild take online recently where someone was like, Frozen 2 is better than the first one. And I was like, get out of town. I was like,
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm like, how could you say that with a straight face that like Frozen 2 is better? It's like it has worse songs. The story is like a cobbled together mess. Ugh, I was just like, I pretty much played it straight with the person. I was like, or maybe I didn't even say anything. I just kind of thought to myself, like, "You do you." Do not engage.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your anticipated comedy?
So I did a movie that was supposed to come out in 2023. It was not on our list that year, but it was scheduled for release and pushed back. I think it's comedy, even though like it doesn't look like it's a laugh out loud funny comedy. But I went with Challengers. This is the Luca Guadagnino. I guess we could say like romantic triangle comedy.
Yeah, it might be a dark comedy from what it looks
Yeah,
like.
we don't know. We don't really know. It's a dramedy, maybe I think
Yeah.
most appropriately, but it's about tennis players. And it stars Zendaya and Josh O'Connor and Mike Faced, who was the latter was in West Side Story. Josh O'Connor played in The Crown, and Zendaya is Zendaya. Um,
She needs no introduction.
yeah, I mean, come on. And yeah, they are all like very like big pro tennis players who kind of cross each other's lives romantically. And yeah, I don't think it really looks especially funny, but I think it's gonna be like if it's up for Golden Globes, I think it's in the comedy category if I had to guess. So I'm going with it.
There's one film coming out very soon, John, that I think might be more of a comedy that I would be surprised if it's not on your list. So
Argyle?
maybe no, that came out.
I know, I'm joking. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
All right, so it's the one half of the Coen Brothers Drive Away Dolls coming out
Oh,
soon.
I don't think I even knew about that.
Yeah, that looks like something that would be like up your alley. So maybe
Okay,
look
I'll have
at
to check
that.
that out.
It
Yeah.
was delayed. It was another one of those movies that was delayed last year,
Okay, cool.
and it's coming out soon. So it has like Margaret Qualley as the lead or something.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so now we're at Prestige. I think you're up.
Sure. Okay, so Prestige, I'm going with a movie that I had listed uh as an alternate for Prestige last year, and this is Blitz, um, which is the newest from director Steve McQueen of 12 Years a Slave and Widows and Shame Fame. And it stars Saoirse Ronan and Harris Dickinson, who we most recently saw in Iron Claw. And it is about the London Blitz. So, the bombing of London during World War II. I think it's going to be maybe it might be like a little bit of a like I don't think it's a proper like anthology movie, but I think it's going to be like a kind of a big cast, lots of intersecting type stories, perhaps all set around this time. So, I think Steve McQueen is just really good at stuff like this. So I'm interested to see his what he's got to share this time. And Saoirse Ronan obviously always excellent. It's been a little while since we saw her in anything, I think.
Yeah, I mean, think something of note. I think she was in a movie that kind of like it's almost like a detective comedy, like Knives Out, a few years ago. I think it came out in the theaters. It came and gone, and then she
See How
was
They Run?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then she was trying. She was just at Sundance selling a new film
Uh-huh.
where she plays like I don't know, I forget what role she plays, but it was like one that they were trying to sell on the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be fun to see her in a movie, a big high profile film again. And I think I had read about this movie coming out, and yeah, hopefully it comes out this year.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
For me, I the one I guess I'm most interested in, and I think it's Prestige now that Yorgos Lanthimos has had a couple runs in Best Picture,
Yep.
would be his next anthology film with Emma Stone. Kind of Kindness is the new name of it. It was originally called And, but I thankfully they changed that name because no one would be able to
That's a
like
bad, yeah.
that would be a bad movie to kind of find. But yeah, I'm excited to see what else he has in store. I mean, like he's been on a run here that I like his movies, and um, obviously he's found his muse in Emma Stone, so they work well together. The other one that I consider a prestige film, but I have no idea, would be Richard Linklater's Hitman, which played a lot of film festivals in 23, had a lot of buzz, and then Netflix bought it, and I think they're going to drop it this summer. And I hope, from what I've heard, it's like a movie that plays well in theater. So like, hopefully they have a short theatrical run or do something like that, because it seems like it'd be a bummer to see it get lost um, in the streaming world.
Yeah, well, prepared to be bummed.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're like, oh, movies get lost in the streaming world. John, what's hilarious too? It's like film critics and people like us would probably like, oh, we definitely know what like Maestro and May December are, but like those movies don't make a blip
I
on
know.
like Netflix's like most watched movies. It's like, I guess it was like, I don't know if there was like a Julia Roberts movie released on there or something over the holidays
Oh,
that
yeah,
apparently,
yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, that apparently like everybody watched, and like it's
Yeah.
one of the most watched movies on Netflix. And I bet you like tons of people watch Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, and I'm just like, I, I'm not most people, I guess. I just those movies don't interest me.
No,
Um, but those are the ones that seem to capture the most views.
I guess so, for whatever reason.
So I don't know why Netflix keeps on chasing this prestige idea
It's
of
very weird. It just
yeah,
feels like a bugaboo, like they haven't won a Best Picture Oscar yet, so they just really want to.
yeah, because it's just like the stuff that like they do really well in their business is not the award stuff.
Definitely not.
um, all right, so we're on wild card.
Yes.
Um, I will start here. My wild card is Twisters,
Oh, okay, sure.
which I think is a good wild card. It's being directed by the director of Minari, is his first film after that Oscar nominated feature. Um, it it's a sequel to the classic disaster film Twister from all those years ago.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't know if I would have been excited like right out the gate without the involvement of the Minari director, but like
Yeah, it's an interesting choice.
yeah, Lee Isaac Chung is his name.
Right, just that's his follow-up, you know.
Yeah, and like the cast has Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos, and others. And I guess like even like I was just looking up the film to talk more about it, and they're like, oh, maybe they'll have a trailer for Twisters at the Super Bowl. And yeah, this is the type of movie I think you'd have a trailer for, because it's a big box office kind of disaster film that uh, you want to advertise and get people out there. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, hopefully it's fun and works out for them. Was this on your radar at all, John?
I mean, I'm interested in it. It wasn't one that like kind of crossed my mind as a most anticipated, but um, it's something that like I think I'll see at some point. Whether I go to theaters or not is probably review dependent.
Yeah. All right. And what else do I have there? Yeah, the other wild card for me was Mickey 17, only because we don't know when it's gonna open.
Well, fair enough.
Um,
Yeah.
John, what was your wild card?
Okay, so my wild cards from last year included Megalopolis and The Way of the Wind, and those are my two wild cards for this year. And I swear I didn't even look at my list last year,
Yeah.
but they both were the ones that fit this spot the best, and I couldn't decide between one, so I put them both in. Um, So Megalopolis is the Francis Ford Coppola movies you mentioned earlier. It's been in the works for some time. It's got quite a cast. Adam Driver is the star. Then you've got Aubrey Plaza, Shia LaBeouf, Dustin Hoffman, Jason Schwartzman, Lawrence Fishburne, a whole bunch of others. Those were just the ones I pulled out.
Oh, Larry Fishburne is working with him again.
Yeah, oh Larry.
I
That's
I
funny.
say that
Yeah,
because that was his credit in
I know.
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, right, exactly. Um, so yeah, I'm super interested in that. It sounds like it's going to be kind of wild. And then The Way of the Wind is the new Terrence Malick movie, which is telling a retelling of several episodes in the life of Jesus. So, a little bit of a preview of the Martin Scorsese Jesus movie we're apparently going to get in a few years. Um, in this one, Mark Rylance plays Satan, so that'll be interesting. Uh, and yeah, and I don't know. It's just like he's hit or miss, so wild card. But I know he's like a very spiritual person. I trust that he's going to sort of tell this story with some reverence. I don't know exactly, how you know uh, obtuse or not it's going to be, but I'm curious, and I do think that he had a few duds, kind of in the middle of the last decade, but uh, what was his most recent movie was Hidden Place.
A Hidden Life or something like
Hidden
that.
Life, yeah. Hidden Life, yes, thank you. That was his that was like a World War II movie.
Did you
And
see that?
yeah, it's really good.
All right, because like all I know about it, because like I hadn't seen it yet, and I heard it was pretty good, was that like Disney buried it, like
Yeah, it did
beyond
get
buried
buried
it
for sure. Yep.
when they bought Fox and like
Well, that was
it,
yeah, it wasn't a Disney movie. It was a Searchlight movie that came over to Disney when they purchased it, and I'm sure they didn't know what to do with it. So
yeah, that was just something that's kind of hard to see.
it's good. I have a screener here. I think of it, but it's yeah, it's good. I
All
don't know if it's
right,
streaming. Yeah,
yeah, I don't think so. I'd
guess
be
not.
surprised. Um,
So I think that's over to me now for my most anticipated, right?
yeah,
So I went kind of chalky and could have fit this one in a bunch of other spots, but fact is, it just is my most anticipated movie, and it's Dune Part Two.
that makes sense.
Yeah, right. I mean, I just kept thinking back to how I felt after watching the first Dune, which I didn't see in theaters, regretfully. Um, but I was so into it, and I was so excited to learn more about the Dune world, and I watched the David Lynch movie as soon as I finished the part one, the Villeneuve version, and was doing Dune wiki stuff for many hours that week and weekend. So,
You probably know
like,
more than me because I haven't read the third book yet. So,
well, I don't,
but
yeah, I don't know much, or haven't retained much, I should say, but all I know is that as we get closer, I'm just super duper excited about it, and it would be disingenuous for me to, I think, slot anything else in that spot.
did you do you, I don't know how to ask this question, but let's start with
Uh,
this. Have you seen the popcorn bucket?
yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that whoever made it was like, yeah, let's just totally do this, and it doesn't need to make sense, and like everybody's gonna laugh about it and talk about it,
Yeah,
and that's worth like it not being functional.
yeah, yeah. I think that's probably true.
Yeah, because if you haven't seen the Dune popcorn bucket, it's wild, and SNL
It's
actually
a
did some skit
flashlight.
on it. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes.
So what do you got?
Um, yeah, so yeah, Dune Part Two could easily be mine as well, but I decided to pick out some movies that are a little more vague and things that we don't know yet. I had found that David Lowery's next film, and I really like The Green Knight, and I tend to really enjoy his films. He has a pop epic called Mother Mary being worked on for A24 with Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole, and uh, that was enough to get me excited for it. Um, I I don't know what to expect, but I really want to see it. um, then the other one was another one that I really didn't know anything about until doing this project was a film called The End. It's an apocalyptic musical film,
Oh God, that
and
sounds like what was that? That horrible Adam Driver movie with
I
the
didn't, yeah, I didn't really dislike that, but
Annette.
yeah, no,
Oh my
but this one
God.
is directed by the documentary director Joshua Oppenheimer, who did
Oh yeah,
The Act of Killing and The Look of Silence.
yeah. You just like the Oppenheimer connection.
Yes, that's right. But has like Tilda Swinton in it and George McKay, Michael Shannon. Um, so I don't know. That seems kind of interesting to me.
Sure.
But yeah, those are our most anticipated films of 2024.
All right.
We'll see how many of those like actually end up being pretty good.
Yeah, will come out. It helps when I double up so many times from last year, so like I do feel like I have a good chance of like not having too many movies that like slide through into 2025.
Yeah, I this could be your year, John. All the movies on your list actually hit
Actually
the
come
gate.
out and I see. Wouldn't that be a scene? Wouldn't that be wild?
Yeah, make sure you're on the outline now. Can you like add your films here
Oh yeah, sure I
so
will.
that way
Yep.
I have a record of them. And all right, we're gonna move on to where to find us and our what you've been watching. Um, you can find me at Blue Sky, which is now invite free. You don't have to have an invite to get on there. So go ahead, get on there and follow me on there. I'm MH Colville on that social network. John, I'm gonna assume that you're still a kind of unfollowable, or like
Basically,
reach out to me and I'll reach out to John.
yeah, he'll text me and ask the question. Yeah.
um, we have the Substack still. I write on there. The It's the Picture Substack. Most recently, I reviewed some of the movies that I had watched over January, and just getting ready for more movies this year. Maybe I'll do a Super Bowl commercials thing on there. I tend to like to do that, like laugh at
Oh,
the
fun.
commercials.
Yeah.
Um, what else? You, we have a place staked out on Letterbox if you want to follow our account there. You can listen to us on any music or podcast platform you like. If you want to listen to us on Apple or Spotify, Stitcher's still a thing. Those are all great places to find the podcast. Leave us a review. It will help us reach a bigger audience. What else do I have to note here? I think that is it going into the what we've been watching section. John, I do have something listed, but I am going to switch it. But I'm going to kick it off to you first.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I just wanted to make a quick announcement that I am going to be stepping away from the podcast in a few episodes. I think we're going to close out the movies of 2023 with the Oscar ceremony this year, and that's going to be my cue to exit stage right, as they would say, or left, I guess, if that's your preference. But um, yeah, we've been doing this together for over 8 years, and it's been obviously a joy. And something I just have really loved doing. We are good friends, despite my joke at the beginning of the podcast. But for me, if you haven't noticed, I'm not sure how, but my passion for film is not where it once was, and also not where it should be, considering all the work that Max puts into the podcast. So I'm going to move on to, I'm not entirely sure what, but other endeavors perhaps. And he is going to carry on the good name of It's a Pictures. And more news on that front coming, but wanted to just mention that today, so that in a couple episodes when I'm no longer on the show full time, that it's not going to be a shock. And I'm not going to go away forever. I think definitely, like, I'll pop in as a guest periodically, but my days as your regular or mostly regular co-host are coming to a close soon. And just wanted to let our dear listeners know that. And obviously, thank you for understanding, Max, as we've talked about this for a little while now. And I'm just super excited to be a avid listener in a few weeks now.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a while, so I
Yeah.
am not going to tear up on air as much as people would expect me to. No, I expect it, and I do wish John, um, all the best, and we've had a great run here.
For sure.
I text,
163 episodes.
yeah,
Well, plus.
yeah, I messaged John the other day, a little meme to say that we did it, and we hit a threshold of 30,000 all time downloads, and for some podcasts that's like what they do in a day or something. But we're not Mark Maron, and I'm pretty proud of our commitment to this podcast and
Yeah,
everything we put into it, and obviously there are people out there who enjoyed it, and I hope you continue listening.
I'm
I
sure
do
they will.
I do have plans to continue the show, and have more wonderful guests on as well. So stay tuned. But John, you do have to tell me what you've been watching.
Sure. So I told you I was going to watch Killers of the Flower Moon. I did not get a chance to do that because we had some intervening life events. But I did get an opportunity to watch another 2023 title that had eluded me. That was Priscilla, the Sofia Coppola movie, which starred. I'm gonna
Kaylee
mispronounce.
Spaney.
Thank you. And Jacob Elordi as Elvis and Priscilla Presley, respectively. And I didn't really think it was like that great of a movie. I did think like the actors were pretty good. It was I think like I appreciated the different approach to the story and the myth making than what we got from last year's Elvis movie. Or was that last year? Well, I guess now at this point, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
because Priscilla was last year. Um, but like just dramatically, it was a little bit inert for me, and I have to say, I think that was the case for like the last couple Sofia Coppola movies. So, like, I found myself just kind of like longing for the bling ring again, which is the last time she made something that I felt like was really kind of alive. And I don't know, it does bum me out a little bit, but for me, it was a miss. And for the Academy, it was too. I guess not like a huge shocker because it didn't have much buzz, but I think coming into the fall, you thought like, oh well, this could be a player, and it kind of just fell flat. And I felt like that's because the movie is a little bit flat.
Well, don't feel too bad for A24 because the Zone
I
of
don't.
Interest
Yeah,
and Past Lives managed to make it into the top 10 there. So
yeah,
yeah, I think I remember talking to you about it, and like I thought like it was the film that I liked the most from her since The Bling Ring, so that's unsurprising. We had similar thoughts, but yeah, I think most of that had to do with I thought like uh Kaylee the actress there was I thought she did a wonderful job, and if this actress year wasn't so crowded, maybe she would be included in there. Maybe you have different reservations to me, but yeah, I thought she was excellent. Um, Now it's funny, like I didn't know like Jacob Elordi all that well. I guess he's another like Euphoria grad or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and Saltburn.
Yeah, well, now that's what I'm saying. And it's just
Oh, okay.
curious, like I was like, now everybody knows him as the Saltburn guy.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Because that movie is certainly become much more popular once it hit Amazon.
Yeah, for real, that was wild.
So I had on here, John, one of the movies that I rented from Sundance. Um, they have their like digital ideas where you can like rent some of the stuff, and like
Right.
this is one that was pretty buzzy at the fest. It's called A Real Pain, and it stars and is directed by Jesse Eisenberg. It's a second feature, and it co-stars Kieran Culkin. And I thought the movie was entertaining. It's like they're like cousins, and they go back to Poland and kind of like go on like a trip reminiscing about like the Holocaust and like where their grandmother came from, and it's obviously a sad movie,
Yeah.
um, but it's definitely better done than Jesse Eisenberg's first film, which I also watched at Sundance and I thought was like terrible. So I was happy to see that at least as a director, he's grown a little bit, and this was better. Um, I'm not as like wild on it as like some of the buzz that was coming out of the festival. But yeah, it was picked up, and you'll be able to see it soon if your heart desires. But the what I really want to talk about, John, and it's because I know that you saw it and you're a fan, is that I finally saw The Abyss.
Yes, I am a fan.
Um, it's wild, John. That movie, it's almost like my thoughts on like Apocalypse Now too, where like the making of the movie is more or equally as fascinating as the movie itself.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Because like for those who don't know, it's like the actors of the movie had to like learn how to dive, and they filmed a lot of the movie like underwater. And I guess James Cameron would like spend like 10 hours underwater like filming the movie. And
They have just like a giant tank that they were doing
yeah,
it in, yeah.
yeah, and he had to like stay underwater for an hour at the end because of compression sickness, and like he'd watch the dailies like upside down. And yeah, and it's funny because it's not like the biggest named actors in the world. Like I forget like who the
Right.
actress was, but like Ed
Yeah,
Harris is
Mary
the lead.
Elizabeth Mastrantonio.
Yeah, and Ed Harris is lead. I'm like, I don't remember like a movie that like I've ever seen Ed Harris actually lead, but like he's typically like the supporting
Yep,
role. So I guess it was fun to see him in this. And well, I understand, John, and you'll be able to know this because you're familiar with the movie, but like there's like different cuts of the movie, two different cuts.
yeah,
And apparently the theatrical cut is like 30 minutes shorter and like takes out a lot of stuff with like a US Russian conflict. And I'm
yep.
like, I can't imagine taking that out of the film, having seen it. It's like it adds so much to like why it's important that they retrieve a sunken submarine, and just this like fear of like what drives them.
Right. I've never seen that version of it, so I'm like not super familiar the with like, kind of how that story elements of the story gets told, but I agree that like, and I think that was the story behind a lot of it back when it came out was like it's a little bit confusing what they're trying to like sell us here.
What, the shorter version?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess like even like there's like a scene near the finale of The Abyss, which is like has a giant wave that is like a CGI
Right.
element, and like they were like that's pretty important to the finale as well, and
Yeah, totally.
it wasn't there in the theatrical edition.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's a pretty entertaining movie. That James Cameron, he makes a pretty good movie.
He knows his way around a film.
I mean, like, I think that was, like, the one, like, big blind spot that I had in his filmography, and, like,
Yeah.
eventually, that's one I'll definitely wanna cover, John, down the road is, like, a James Cameron
Oh, sure.
filmography
Yeah,
because it's just,
totally.
like I think that there's enough interest there, even outside Avatar and Titanic to talk about, like, this is a guy who also directed the 2 Terminator movies and
Yep.
True Lies and, um, Aliens.
Aliens.
That's like
Absolutely.
that's like when you wanna stop on one and say one of his movies is a classic, then you're just like, "Oh, well, what about this one?"
Yep.
So yeah, The Abyss was very entertaining. I'm glad that I finally got to see it. If anybody out there is wondering about some extra trivia about that movie or just interested in like how it was made, it's definitely worth looking into. Apparently, like Ed Harris won't talk about the movie anymore.
Yeah.
He was like so like emotionally scarred from the production. It was such a difficult production that like he just does not want to reminisce about that movie
Yeah.
at all.
I don't think any of the cast did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty wild.
All right. Well, that's our episode here at the pictures. As always, I want to thank the audience for listening and thank you, John, for participating as always.
Of
And
course.
we'll see you soon.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.